The air, thick with the scent of wet ferns and river mud, hangs heavy. For the Riverstone clan, this is the smell of life. A constant reminder that the water gives and the water takes. Kael, the clan's leader, watches his daughter, Elora, at the water's edge, her small hands, stained with berry juice, turn over smooth, grey stones, her world contained in that simple, repetitive motion. Kael's own hand rests on the haft of a spear, a formidable piece of osteodontoceratic technology, its shaft of hardened ironwood. Its tip a sharpened shard from the femur of an Allosaurus his own father had helped kill. This tool, a legacy of death, is the only reason his daughter can sit in the sun. He is a link in a chain of vigilance, a guardian in this chapter of hominid history that will never be recorded. The river's surface is a sheet of hammered bronze under the afternoon sun, placid, hiding its teeth. The illusion holds for a moment longer, then the world tears open. It is not a roar that signals the attack, but a sound of immense displacement. The river simply heaves upward as the god of this watercourse announces itself. A 6-foot sail of skin and bone slices through the surface, followed by a long, crocodilian snout bristling with conical teeth. The Spinosaurus does not hunt with malice. It hunts with the indifferent totality of a landslide. Water, mud, and shrieking hadrosaurus erupt onto the bank. The clan explodes into motion. A desperate scattering of brown bodies. Kael screams Elora's name. Useless sound swallowed by the chaos. He sees her. A flash of motion, running not towards him, but away from the thrashing leviathan, scrambling inland into the cycad jungle. He tries to follow, but the clan's frantic retreat pulls him in the other direction, a tide of survival dragging him from his own blood. Lost, terrified, Elora runs until her lungs burn like fire. The sounds of the river monster fade, replaced by the cacophony of the deep forest. When she can run no more, she stumbles into a small, secluded clearing, a place of unnatural quiet. There, it stands, an old bull Triceratops, a mountain of scale and horn, its grandeur decayed by time and violence. Its magnificent frill is scarred, one of its brow horns splintered to a jagged stump, a deep, weeping gash on its flank, a lave with flies, tells of a recent, lost battle. It is an outcast. The beast watches her, its one good eye a pool of ancient, reptilian patience. It should have charged, a reflex of territorial aggression, but it only breathes, a slow, rasping sound like boulders grinding together. Elora, small and utterly alone, sees not a monster, but a fellow sufferer in this brutal theater of prehistoric life. She sees the source of its pain stillness effect. Sharpened branch, a remnant of some territorial struggle, is embedded deep in the muscle of its fall. In a moment that defies every instinct her people have ever learned, she walks forward. Panic is a cold stone in Kael's gut. He gathers the survivors, his eyes scanning each face, confirming the absence that screams louder than any cry. The clan looks to him, their expressions a mixture of fear and accusation. He is their leader. He is the father who lost his child. The survival of these ancient humans rests on his ability to think beyond his own agony, leaving the relative safety of the high ground as madness, a violation of every hard-learned survival skill passed down through generations. But he must, with a sharp gesture to two of his strongest hunters, Originated, he turns back toward the jungle, back toward the river god's domain. They follow without question, their silence a heavier burden than any spoken doubt. He tracks her by the small, frantic prints in the mud and the occasional snapped fern formed a trail of terror leading into the unknown. He finds the clearing by scent first, the coppery tang of old blood and the thick, musky odor of a large Ceratocyan. Kael motions for the others to halt, his body low to the ground. He peers through a curtain of giant leaves. The sight steals the air from his lungs. There is Elora, not torn or broken, but standing mere feet from the outcast bull Triceratops. Her small hand is outstretched, not in fear, but, as if to soothe, And the beast, a creature that could pulverize her with a single step, is still. Its great head lowers, and the powerful carrot a no US beak shears through a clump of ferns, chewing with a slow, grinding rhythm. But its gaze never leaves the child. Kael's instinct screams at him to rush in, to snatch his daughter and run. It is the impulse of a father, the animal made to protect his young. But the mind of the hunter, the leader, sees more. At the far edge of the clearing, partially obscured by the shadows of giant ginkgo trees, the real threat waits. The Spinosaurus is there, a silent sentinel of death. It is drawn by the blood scent of the bull's wound but is clearly hesitant. The ritter is its throne room, but here, on solid ground, it is a tyrant in foreign territory. Kael watches, his mind a whirlwind of calculation. He sees the Triceratops shift its immense weight, instinctively positioning its armored body and lethal horns between Elara and the lurking theropod. It is not protection in any human sense. It is a simple, territorial standoff. The child is merely an object within the bull's defensive perimeter, yet the effect is the same. She is safe. In that moment, a plan ignites in Kael's mind, a plan so audacious, so contrary to nature. It feels like a form of sacrilege. A direct rescue is suicide. The Spinosaurus would be on them before they crossed the clearing. But what if they did not fight the beast alone? What if they turned this strange, unspoken bargain between child and monster to their advantage? This is a problem beyond the scope of any paleontology textbook of a future age. This is a living, breathing tactical nightmare. He must turn this creature of instinct into a weapon. He backs away slowly, his heart a war drum in his chest. He has to convince his clan to risk everything on the sanity of a monster. Kael returns to his people not as a grieving father, but as a leader with a terrifying vision. He speaks quickly, his words sharp as flint shards, painting a picture of impossible survival. He describes the outcast bull, the lurking river god, and his daughter held in the precarious balance between them. There are murmurs of disbelief, of fear. To approach the river god is suicide. To trust a horned giant is madness. But Kael's authority, forged in a dozen desperate struggles against this world of prehistoric animals, holds them. We will not fight the monster, he says, his voice low and hard, silencing their doubts. We will use a demon to drive it back into the water. The plan is simple in its concept and nearly impossible in its execution. They will become a pincer of fear, a coordinated assault on the senses of a creature that has never known a challenge from anything so small. This is not a hunt. It is an act of psychological warfare, a gambit reliant on the most advanced primitive technology. They possess the controlled flame and the cohesive terror of the clan. They move us to shadows in the deep green twilight. Ek leads a group of 5, armed with stones and the driest tinder they could find. Kael takes the other 4, carrying their heaviest spears. They task the more dangerous one. They circle the clearing, a silent, methodical tightening of a net made of flesh and courage. Elara is still there, a tiny, motionless figure near the great beast's flank. Kael finds his position behind the Triceratops. He can see the rhythmic twitch of its muscles, smell its blood. He gives the signal, the sharp, clear cry of a hawk. Across the clearing, Originated group answers. Sparks fly as stones strike spyrite. A small flame catches, then another. They touch the flames to bundles of dried grass tied to branches. Fire blooms in the darkness. Originated group moves first. They emerge from the jungle, a moving wall of light and noise, shouting, banging stones together, creating a disorienting wall of sound that smashes against the Spinosaurus' senses. The great predator turns, its long snout lifting, hissing in confusion and anger at the dancing flames. It has never faced a threat that attacks its eyes and ears instead of its flesh. At that exact moment, Kael makes his move. One of his hunters, a young man named Beor, hurls a spear. It is a calculated strike, not for the heart, but for the fleshy part of the bull's uninjured hind leg. The Triceratops bellows in pain and rage. It spins, its massive head enscarred through the fortress of bone, expecting an attacker from the rear. It sees Kael's body, small, threatening figures standing their ground. In front of it, the fire and noise. Behind it, the new aggression, roaring its defiance. It does the only thing its ancient instincts tell it to do. It charges the largest, most immediate threat in its path. It charges the Spinosaurus. The ground trembles. Amid the chaos, Kael sprints, his world narrowed to a single point: his daughter. He snatches her arm, pulling her back into the jungle just as 12 tons of Triceratops and fury crashes into the flank of the river god. The impact is the sound of a falling mountain. The Spinosaurus shrieks, a sound of pure agony, as the one good horn of the bull punches through its side. Wounded, terrified by the fire, and assaulted by a foe it cannot intimidate, the apex predator breaks. It thrashes its way back through the trees, a trail of destruction marking its panicked retreat to the one place it knows safety: the river. The last sounds of the retreating giant fade, leaving only the rasping breath of the wounded bull and the crackle of a dropped torch. The clan regroups around Kael and Dilara, their faces lit by the dying flame, a silent testament to the impossible thing they have just done. They did not conquer nature that is a fool's dream. They listened to its brutal rhythms and, for a single, desperate moment, played a new note in its unforgiving symphony. This act, born of a father's love and a leader's audacious intellect, is a tiny, pivotal shift in the grand, slow story of human evolution for these early humans. This was not merely survival, it was the birth of strategy. It was the realization that the hominid mind, fragile and weak, could be the most dangerous weapon on a planet of titans. They learned to see the world not just as a hunter sees prey, but as a survivor sees a system of levers, where the weight of one monster could be used to topple another. Looking back at the lone Triceratops, standing its ground in the blood-soaked clearing, they see not a beast, but the first, unwitting ally in humanity's long war against extinction. These are the whispers carried on the ancient wind, the echoes of choices made when the world was young. This is the chronicle of the first defiance. But the stench of blood on the river travels far, and awakens things that sleep in the deeper, darker waters.